Sup guys, it's Alex here and welcome to another edition of the Bracketology update. This one is finally on time for a Tuesday Bracketology. This one is for February 21st. Usually I've been actually missing the Tuesday Bracketologies or coming out with them on like a Wednesday or Thursday, but I'm finally on time and I'm going to try to stay on time for these Tuesday ones. But man, we have ourselves a situation. I just got a notification on my phone that for #1 overall seed for the #1 team in the nation, Alabama, star player Brandon Miller actually just got, not indicted, but the police just basically put out a statement that there was a shooting back in January for like a former Alabama player, and they just announced that he actually supplied the gun in that shooting. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if that's going to affect his eligibility, if they're going to like suspend him or take a leave of absence, or if he's actually going to play or whatever. But that was just huge news that came across my phone right before I started recording this video. So maybe that'll have an impact on what happens in this bracketology. Maybe it won't. I don't know what happens. Obviously, we need more time to figure out what's going to happen with that. But last night we had a crazy game, or not a crazy game, but a good game between Kansas and TCU. Kansas getting another quad one victory. They have, I think, 14 on the season now, with still like 4 more to go. And now they have the most quad one wins out of any team like since last year, or I think last year was like the record for quad one wins like since they started doing the quadrant stuff. And that was Kansas as well with 12. So I mean, this Kansas team deservedly might get the #1 overall pick, but that's just enough talk about Kansas and stuff right now. Let's take a look here at the bracket watch. Top overall seed is Alabama right there. First team out is North Carolina. Preseason #1 team suffered a loss over the weekend to NC State, and now as you see, their rope has run out. The first team out, they need to start getting victories, as you can kind of read in that little blurb right there. 0-9 in quadrant 1 games. That is not a record that you want to have if you're trying to make a case to be in the tournament. Last team in is Wisconsin. Honestly, I'd probably go with North Carolina in over Wisconsin, to be completely honest with you. But man, North Carolina fans, a little scary there. And for Kentucky, after they beat Tennessee, they are safely in the tournament. As you'll see, they're actually an 8 seed now. Went from being in the last 4 in to now being safely in the tournament, unless they just have a complete collapse to end the season. But taking a look here at the on the bubble, last 4 byes are Memphis, Boise State, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. Oklahoma State been struggling as of late. They just got destroyed by West Virginia over the weekend, who is right behind them. Last 4 in are Nevada, Mississippi State, USC, and Wisconsin. First 4 out are North Carolina, Charleston, New Mexico, and then Utah State. And then the next 4 out are Oregon, Arizona State, Texas Tech, and Penn State. So a lot of big name Power 5 schools there in the next 4 out. And then you got teams like Michigan, Utah, Florida that are kind of in that next zone there. But man, this is shaping up to be an interesting battle for the bubble. Really, there's only 2 teams that are out of the tournament right now that could make a case to be in my opinion. I think North Carolina and then Charleston. Everybody else, I think, deserves to be out of the tournament based off of what's going on right now. But those are just my thoughts for the bubble. Taking a look here at the movement for what's gone on since my last bracketology, we have Memphis up to a 9, Indiana up to a 4 after that committee review, Nevada falling down to an 11, Mississippi State rejoining the field, Illinois down to a 7 after losing to Indiana over the weekend, though they did get a much-needed win against Minnesota. It's a win that didn't really help them, but it would have definitely hurt them if they had lost. Then we have Texas A&M up to an 8. They've definitely played their way into the tournament. That team is looking pretty good as of late. Rutgers down to a 9, Miami down to a 5, Marquette down to a 4, San Diego State up to a 6, USC new to the field there as an 11, Kansas State up to a 3 after beating Iowa State, Missouri down to a 10. Then if we take a look at the West Regional, we have Iowa down to an 8, Arkansas up to a 9, Xavier up to a 4, Iowa State up to a 3, Boise State up to a 10. Then over there in the East Regional, as I mentioned, Kentucky now up to an 8. Can they continue their run? They were just, I mean, a little bit ago, maybe even 2 weeks ago, they were out of the tournament after losing to Georgia. Now they've righted the ship. I think that they will be safely in. Scary team to play in the NCAA tournament if their talent can win out. Then we have Pittsburgh down to a 9, Connecticut down to a 5, Gonzaga down to a 4. Then we have Duke up to a 6. There's another team that looked to have righted the ship. I think they've won 5 out of their last 7, something like that. Oklahoma State down to an 11. Then we have Auburn down to a 10. And then, I don't know why I was building to Vermont right there, but they're down to a 15. So as you guys know, every time that I do a bracketology, I go to the vertex42.com. Just download that, fill out this Excel template just based off of the bracketology and how Joe Lunardi kind of set it up, and then give my predictions for what I think is going to happen. I just fill out the bracket, something fun I like to do, and I guess enough people enjoy watching me make my predictions and stuff like that to keep this channel moving. So thank you guys for all the support up until this point. Less than a month to go until the NCAA tournament. And in terms of food items for today, if you are watching at this point in the video and not just skipping to the end, something fun I like to do in every single video to see who's actually paying attention, watching through the whole video, not just clicking through to see who I have as my national champion. If you're watching at this point in the video, you know what? Let's comment. I think I might have done it already, but I had them again last night. Let's go with Oreos. And on top of that, comment your favorite type of Oreo below. I'm a big double stuffed guy. Had some of those last night. I like the mint flavor as well. But some people may be a thin Oreo type person. Maybe they like the regular, maybe they like the golden cream, I don't know. But I'm a big double stuffed guy. But all right, let's go ahead and get into my predictions. That's what you guys turn on the video to watch and see. Obviously, we're going to have Alabama beat the winner of Alcorn and Fairleigh Dickinson. Then we're going to go with NC State here, moving on past Memphis. Creighton hanging on against Kent State there, along with Indiana over Yale. Then I'm going to go with TCU, moving on past the winner of Nevada and Mississippi State, which I do think would be Mississippi State. Virginia will beat the Fighting Toothpaste of Colgate. Illinois will hang on against Florida Atlantic, and then we have UCLA moving on past Kennesaw State. So no first round upsets there. It's just how I kind of see these things shaping out. First spot in the Sweet 16, we got Alabama moving on past NC State. Then this matchup here, Creighton and Indiana, two teams that I think could be sleeper teams to make a Final Four run. I got Indiana moving on there, but that is not to discredit Creighton at all. TCU and Virginia here, 6 and 3 seed. I am going to go with the 3 seed Virginia, though I can see TCU pulling that off. And then we're going to go with UCLA here, advancing on past Illinois. I do think that Illinois could pull off the upset there, but I do think that UCLA is too talented. Then that sets up Alabama versus Indiana here. This is a match. I think this is a matchup here to where the Brandon Miller thing may come into play. I got Indiana moving on. And that is something, though, that I have been doing consistently over the past couple bracketologies. I have been picking Indiana to upset Alabama, and I'm going to do it right then again. So then they will face UCLA as well for a spot in the Final Four. And I don't think I've done it yet at all in my bracketologies, but I'm going to go with UCLA moving on to the Final Four out of this regional. Indiana kind of struggled to put away Illinois without Terrence Shannon, and I got UCLA they've earned my respect. I've been disrespecting them for far too long. I got UCLA advancing out of that regional. So now the top right regional, we'll have Houston moving on past just Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We'll also have Texas A&M moving on past Rutgers. Miami hanging on against Drake along with Marquette over Southern Miss. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here and have USC beating Wisconsin and then upsetting San Diego State. Kansas State moving on past UC Irvine. Michigan State hanging on past Missouri along with Texas over Youngstown State. So no real first round upsets there again either. The committee's aka Joe Lunardi, is just bracketing them pretty well and picking the favorites. Then we're going to go with Houston moving on there past Texas A&M. Marquette moving on past Miami. Kansas State moving on past USC. And then we have Texas moving on past Michigan State. So then for a spot in the Elite Eight, as much as I want to pick Marquette to move on there, and honestly in the actual tournament video I may pick Marquette to move on there, I got to give Houston their flowers. Pick them to advance on to the Elite Eight there, where they will face the Texas Longhorns, and then the Texas Longhorns will advance on to the Final Four out of that top right regional. I just think Texas is playing very well as of lately. I've one of the most electric players in the nation in Marcus Carr. I think that they can make some noise there and advance on out of that regional in a battle of the two Texas schools there, Houston and Texas. So then for moving on here to the bottom right regional, we're going to have Kansas moving on past UNC Asheville. Arkansas, I do think we'll be able to beat Iowa there in a 9/8. Then we're going to go with St. Mary's moving on past VCU along with Xavier over Utah Valley. Then as much as I want to pick Oral Roberts here with Max Abness to upset Northwestern, Northwestern's just playing too good right now. They just beat Purdue. I got Northwestern moving on there. And we're going to have Iowa State moving on past Eastern Washington. I will go with a 10/7 upset there with Boise State here, moving on past Maryland, and then Arizona will move on past Samford. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, the battle of the Anses, we got Kansas versus Arkansas. I'm going to go with Kansas moving on there. Then Xavier versus St. Mary's. I'm actually going to go with St. Mary's out of the West Coast Conference. They've been playing pretty well this season. Got them in the 5/4 upset there. Then I'm going to go with another upset pick here with 6th seed Northwestern upsetting number 3 Iowa State. Iowa State is just a team that feels like I was all behind them if you've been watching my January bracketologies, but something about them lately just doesn't seem right. They've lost, I think, like 6 of their last 10 games, something like that. Northwestern's just been playing out of their minds as of late. I got the 6/3 there. And then we got Arizona moving on past Boise State. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we have Kansas moving on past St. Mary's. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here and go with Northwestern pulling off the 6/2, continuing a Cinderella run here of sorts to the Elite Eight. When was the last time Northwestern's ever made it to the Elite Eight, if ever, in the NCAA tournament? But then they will falter against Kansas, who I have advancing on to the Final Four. So in the last region over here, we have Purdue moving on past Moorhead/Howard. Then Kentucky is going to beat Pittsburgh. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here and go with 12 seed West Virginia over 5 seed Connecticut. Not your typical 12 seed there in West Virginia. I got the Mountaineers moving on and pulling off the upset. Then we're going to go with Gonzaga past Iona. Duke will hang on past Oklahoma State. Then we're going to go with Tennessee over Hofstra. Providence will hang on past Auburn, who's kind of been faltering as of late. And then Baylor over Vermont. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, this matchup here will be insane. Oscar Tshiebwe, last year's Player of the Year, versus Zach Edey, this year's likely Player of the Year favorite. I got Purdue advancing on there, but that's a matchup where you could easily see an 8-seed Kentucky making a run just like they did in 2014. Then West Virginia versus Gonzaga. I'm going to go with another upset pick here. I got 12-seed West Virginia advancing on past Gonzaga, making some noise. Then Duke versus Tennessee, another upset pick there. I got 6-seed Duke advancing on past Tennessee. Just believe in Duke's talent. And Tennessee's lost 3 of their last 4, I believe. And then we're going to have Baylor advancing on past Providence. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, I do have Purdue ending West Virginia's Cinderella run of hopes as the 12th seed. And I also got Baylor advancing on past Duke, which sets up Purdue versus Baylor here for a spot in the Final Four. I have the Boilermakers, who seem to have righted the ship in their last game. I got Purdue advancing on to the Final Four. So we have 2 1 seeds and then 2 2 seeds here in the Final Four. So a little chalky, not kind of what I was anticipating, but just the way things kind of shook out. So up first, we'll have UCLA versus Purdue. I am going to go with the Boilermakers advancing on there, even though they have been losing a few games as of late, where they will face Kansas, who will beat Texas there. So 2 number 1 seeds. I know it's chalky in the national championship game, but that's just the way that it played out here. Purdue versus Kansas. I got to go with the hottest team in the nation right now. Going back-to-back, you got to go with the Jayhawks right now. They're just playing out of their minds, beating quality team after quality team. As a Kentucky fan, as much as I hate to say it, Kansas is going to repeat as a national champion. At least in this bracketology, who knows what's going to happen in the future. So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave your reactions to my predictions in the comments below. Let me know your own predictions as well. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later.